you're going to have your early adopters who will be like, you know what? I'm going to take a chance on this and let me make up my own mind for it. And then they might tell their friends and they're going to tell their friends, but it takes a long time. It takes a while, right? That's a slow burn process to swim upstream, but I would rather do that. It's an honest, that's.
My boys put me on the shooter hunt. You gotta check this out, Mike. Mike, you gotta check this podcast out. So I gave it a listen. The episode I listened to was 38 and it was talking about murder bunnies. I'm sitting there on shrooms. Next thing you know, man, I'm put the fear in them bunnies' eyes, man. I ripped their hearts out. It was ferocious, but I was faster. I was quicker. I moved quick. I swift. Ate the souls, man. I ate the souls. Nothing was stopping Iron Mike. I'm crazy. And no one understands me but me. I'm not even a hunter, but sometimes I just listen to them. There is a reason Shoot to Hunt exists. Don't say I didn't tell you so. Mike out.
I thought Uter recorded a new one.
Yeah, so we try to offend everybody at the same time, Brad.
What was that? What did I just listen to?
That's Mike Tyson. He enjoys the Shoot to Hunt podcast, Brad.
That's like me trying to do a like Jamaican accent impression. Like that's what I just heard is like.
Can we hear that accent real quick?
Jamaican's really hard.
No, because like it's embarrassing for everybody.
Like when you see those guys with the big dreads and everything, right? And they're all sweaty and shit, and they're recording a song, and you got to try really hard to pick out one English word in there. It's all English, but Jamaican is that's tough.
Shit, I can't understand Spanglish.
But
you ever heard Hawaiian speaking pidgin?
Pidgin? I don't have no
pidgin. Oh, that's another one. That's tough. It's English, but barely.
Huh.
Barely. We have another one coming up that's we have an Asian dude that works here and he did a intro for us and I was listening to it. And
you've heard it.
I've heard parts of it.
Oh shit.
I've only heard parts of it.
Where it's at?
I don't know. It hasn't been loaded in yet, but we'll probably get some fan mail.
Yeah. There's some offensive shit in there.
Not offensive, just how he's talking.
Uh-huh.
If you didn't know he's
Is
Asian,
it like a South Park Asian?
You're going to think he's a white Asian, and it's going to be a problem. Even though Yoon obviously is Asian.
Yeah.
But he does it in a way where he sounds like he's white.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to get some good fan mail. Send that to jake@shoothunt.com.
Oh, fuck.
So, we have Brad from Argali. Brad, before we jump into the life and the days and lives of Brad at Argali, I had a conversation this morning with a very distraught industry business owner, and he has a few influencers, and he's getting some heat. Nothing the influencers did wrong. They're just doing basic influencer shit. And it made me think, coming from the Rockside angle and now being involved with products, I see both sides of them better, I guess more clear. You do have to run a tightrope, and it's funny to watch, like, if you just take, like, Aaron leaving Kifaru, for instance, lately. I don't know how to explain this any better, but you saw all the people that were backing Aaron. You saw all the people that were, more on the Kifaru side, but the people that had to scurry away from Kifaru because Aaron left, and now they're on to new packs. They're the greatest ever fucking invented in the history of backpacks now. It's very interesting, the people you work with and the influencers you work with. There's no other way to say it, and this guy kept coming back to it, is it's a pay-to-play game. And if you are being influenced by these people, you should probably think about you're the product. You're the end user. They are using you as the product, that influencer, to emotionally basically coerce you into buying a product. And he was mad because he was getting a bunch of blowback on one particular person, an individual that's very polarizing. And I'm like, dude, you can't have it both ways. The dude sells you something on this side and you have to take the good of the bad, but choosing, I guess my question to you guys, especially to you, Brad, how does one go about vetting and choosing influencers? Hard question, I know. Right out of the gate.
You want me to take that first?
Do you have influencers?
Well, I think you could just, I sit on both sides of this fence. You could describe me as an influencer, and on the one hand, because that is, I hate that. Everybody hates that word. I don't know anybody that likes that word.
Agreed.
But I would say that I have had brand partnerships for a long time, like well before we started making stuff. But I never viewed it as pay to play personally. So let me speak from my personal experience and I'll tell you what we do. I use what I want gear wise. I've always have. And I know, Ryan, you and I have talked about this before, about some of the things I use that you don't like. And
Yes.
I have
Yeah.
told you, I'm like, listen, for the things I do, I'm going to dance around this subject. I'm like, I like it. It's fine. It works great. And more importantly, they're really good people. The people that I work with really do matter to me, and loyalty matters. And I have never ever used something because somebody offered me money to use it if I didn't love it already. I have been offered money to use things, and I was just like, no, like that's just not how it works for me. Like it feels very disingenuous to do that in my mind. So I would say it's hard because most of the people in the influencer space, they're looking at it like, I need a paycheck. It's like this is how they make their living if they are making a living doing that. And so it is a pay to play, and they are, yeah, they're just looking for a paycheck, right? I think the difference in 5 years ago to where we're at today is that the level of awareness around that, the fact that it is oftentimes pay to play, is much higher than it used to be. And so there is a deep level of suspicion within the world about just the fact that influencers, not all of them, but I'd say just like writ large, that there is this world that exists in which people are paid to push a product, whether or not they believe in it or not, who knows? You have to sort that out for yourself. But I have one other thought is that before I get into how we deal with it, but I don't mind being influenced by people. Like some of the products I use today, I have learned about from people that I pay attention to who are being paid to use that product. But I'm of the mind that like I can decipher for myself whether or not I like a product, or I'll try it out myself and be like, that's a good product, but not for me. But I learn about things sometimes or become aware of them because of the fact that some company is paying somebody I look up, I respect, to use it. I'm okay with that. I don't think that's dirty. It's just the form of marketing that we have today. It's just a more modern day of, in my mind, magazine ads, or, back in the day, paying movie stars to use products. So I know it's a dirty word, but I don't think it's necessarily an evil way to market. Now, we don't pay anybody to use anything. Having said all that, I'm not opposed to it whatsoever. I just will be honest that I struggle. I want people to use our product because they genuinely like it and there's an authenticity there. I don't want people to use our product and tell other people about it because there is a financial incentive that is making them do that. I want that to come from an intrinsic place because they believe in it and they love it and they want to tell the world about it. If they already are at that point, and then we can say, and I believe that they're being honest, then we can say, okay, I also understand that you are an influencer and you need to make money. This is how you make your living because this is the game we're in. I may not like the fact that this is the way the world operates, but it does. Then we can talk about, whether or not it makes sense to pay you money to also use this product and talk about it in a real and authentic way. But I struggle with it all the time. I'm not probably the best person to ask about whether or not we should be paying people to use our products. But I'm not opposed to it. We just, as of like right now today, we don't do it. But it's not a sustainable path for us, especially as a brand. Like as you get bigger, if you want to remain competitive, I feel like it is something that is very difficult to avoid at some level. Whether or not you do, but how you approach it matters, right? So like there are some brands, I'm not going to name names, but their entire marketing strategy is like, let's just pay people to use our product, whether they believe it or not, I don't care. And then there are brands that are like, no, they need to start from an authentic place, and then we can talk about money. Very different approaches.
Yes, I agree. You have any thoughts on that, sir?
We don't pay anybody either. I don't think Unknown Munitions is as big as Argali. But I think that there is a higher state of awareness about influencers in general, and that they are influencers and peddlers. And it reminds me of a movie.
Of course it does.
Yeah, shoot, what is it? Who's the guy that's in the Keanu Reeves is in the movie Constantine.
Oh,
So
yeah.
at Constantine, you have the half breeds, and there's the angels and the devils. Well, demons and angels, and they are described in the movie as influence peddlers. So a person can be headed towards the dark side, and all they need is the right few words to be said.
Gotcha.
And they make it to the dark side, or they just need a few words to make it to light, that kind of thing. And
gotcha.
For some people, depending on what you're looking at. So Jessica also told me the other day, my wife, that she follows a lot of influencers, whether it be makeup or face shit or whatever it is on Instagram, right? And there'll be a new product that comes out, and she says it doesn't take long, and 25 of the people that she follows are all talking about the same product.
Yes.
And it's very clear at that point that it's a bunch of bullshit. Well, you don't really know whether it's good or not. And I also agree with Brad that sometimes you discover, like, to be honest with you, to me, you've influenced me on some shit, not from a rock side perspective, but a personal use perspective on gear and whatnot. So I would consider you, you are influencing people.
Oh, damn.
You are,
He did me
right?
dirty
Because
right
you
there,
did
Brad.
there are literally some things, but it's good. Except for the Thunder Beast Ultra 5. I'll throw that one in the trash.
That got all of us. We all got fucked on
you
that
started that, and then and then hey, but look it. So you told me I bought one, and then I told other people, and they bought one, and they're mad at me because I listened to you.
Yeah, I agree, and I listened to somebody else. I have been influenced. Everybody on this podcast has been influenced.
Yes.
Yes.
But all that being said, I think the increased awareness is great. I think that if you produce a really great product or a niche product or something that solves a problem for somebody, that word of mouth becomes almost an influencer for you, and that would be the preferred method. For example, the suppressor that's coming out, if we get 1,000 of these out in the field, all it takes is those 1,000 people to tell a few buddies, and then tell a few buddies, and then
wildfire.
Influencing is not necessary at that point. You don't have to pay anybody to use it. If your product stands for, whether it be a sleeping bag, a tent, a suppressor, a rifle, whatever it might be, if you do a good job at what you do, you don't need to depend on those influencers to spread your product around. Although there is kind of a breaking point, I think, like Brad was saying, you reach a certain point in size of your business, or you've kind of you've reached that limit on that path, and you want to try to reach other people that are not in your little universe, right? We talk about that when we want to partner with another company that has people that we don't normally touch.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a way to get something out there, would be to try to find influencers or some other partnership company that might have a different audience than you do. Like Brad has a completely different audience than Unknown Munitions does. Yeah. So doing something in partnership, he has great products, we have great products, and that helps, not as influencing, but more like just growing your audience, I think.
Yeah, I think how you define influencer too really does matter too, because there are a million paths to marketing, and Ryan, you and I have talked about this a lot. You and I talk about marketing a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the core of it, you need to have a good product.
Absolutely.
But if you have a good product that people are excited about, you can have this slow, sustained growth from word of mouth. But I know some really good products out there and the people that own. I'm thinking of one in particular. The person that owns this company, great individual, great product, really bad at marketing, and very few people know about their product because they're so bad at marketing. And it's painful to watch. Not to say that we're great at it, but if this person, probably paid 10 people to use their product, which is fantastic, and I'm sure the people they pay would love it, it would elevate their business and allow them to grow and succeed in a way that they are currently not. So there is, again, I think it gets a dirty word, but it can be used to help educate and inform people about your product or your brand if it's done properly and not in a grotesque way. And I do think that the level of awareness around it is just so much higher than it has been before. But like you, right? Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing. Like Ryan, you and I talk about gear all the time. I listen to people that I respect all the time about gear. I listen to my friends when they have opinions on gear. I don't care if they're being paid by that company or not, because I trust them as humans, to be honest, right? So if you have a quote unquote influencer who is an honest human, and they're saying, I like this thing, it comes from a place of honesty.
Mhm.
And I think that does matter. So in some ways, it's almost like the money, if the person is a good human, and that's always the hard part for people to understand when you don't know that person and all you do is see them on social media or YouTube. Like, you can't really you don't know them very well. You might think you do, but you don't really know if they're a good human. And maybe we know too much at this point in time because we know a lot of people.
Yes.
But there are a lot of good, honest people who I genuinely enjoy working with and who I have talked to about paying them to use our product. But they've been using our product for years, and I know they're using it now for free and talking about it for free. And in some ways, I also feel guilt because I feel like I'm taking advantage of that person. This is how they make their living. I know this is not it's unfair of me to ask people to use our product in some ways if this is how they make their living, and to say, like, I expect you to do this for free. That's also unfair in some
True.
ways.
True, especially if they're selling, copious amount of product for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I get that.
Maybe you can choose the influencers that you follow the same way you can choose to buy, organic to support real farming and things like that. Like, you choose where to put your money.
Yeah.
So you can choose to, and which guys are the pay to play types, and they've been around a long time and such. And you can choose which influencers to follow.
Yeah, those are good answers. The thing that the dirty word of influencers is you see lots of influencers, not just in hunting, but obviously my focus is on hunting, but it's like you go to their website or you go to whatever they do, and it's a fucking like a NASCAR of advertisements on their website or in their links. Or the real dirty part of influencing is, and this happened 2 weeks ago. Big influencer gets canned by a brand X, and then the next week he's with somebody else totally shitting on the company he just worked with for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It gets old to see that. And I think that's where the dirty name comes on the influencing side, to where there are 5 people. We've talked about this, Brad, right? When we were out nilgai hunting, there's 5 people that I listen to, like, hook, line, sinker. If they say it to me, that's the gospel, but I also know them pretty well. So it is.
You don't want to share who these people are?
No, I don't. Because no, not yet. Brad's one. Brad's one.
Yeah, if I told Ryan to jump off a bridge, he'd be like, all right,
I'm going to do it.
this.
The new thing is this backpack is also a parachute.
He'll listen to me. Yeah.
We're going to jump off. I just found it interesting. This guy was arguing with me about totally getting out of the influencing game, and his company's not small. And I'm like, dude, there's no way, just like Jake said and you said, there's a certain, like, you're saturated in what you're doing. You need a little more voices to, shine a light on you. And he's there. And I'm like, you can't do that. The person he has is polarizing, but that guy, as much as you think he's hurting you, I think he's helping you. And I would seek out and vet people. Like you said, I think a smart way to do it, and I've seen Jake do this too, is a person's already using your product. You get to know that person better. You like it and you get along with that person, and he's not a bullshitter. He's not a liar. Then you can have a conversation of, compensation of some type. Right now, people don't. It's like you calling me up, Brad, and say, hey, I want to give you $25,000 to rep this tent. Will you do it? And you've never talked to me before. I think that's where shit gets really sideways really quick.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you start there, you're just destined for failure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had this is just like anybody who's listening who wants to be an influencer, don't ever approach a company, if you don't have experience with their product, and say, I love your product and I'd like to get paid to use it. Because when somebody, I am open to being sold by somebody who wants to use our product, right? So I generally try and keep an open mind. So when somebody, reaches out to us and says, like, I want to work with you and I love your product, my first question is, what have you used? Don't tell me you love it if you haven't used it. Be honest. So if you haven't used it, that's okay. But don't try and lie from the get-go, because to me, that tells me everything I need to know about you. You are not being honest with me, which means you will not be honest with the people you are talking to about this product. So your character is really important, and just honesty and integrity. It's very, very simple. Like, be honest, be a person of integrity, and just and be your authentic self, and people will want to work with you. It's very simple.
It's like, I'd be like, how do you love it? Come on, tell me how you
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Which part of you never used that you love? You love
Right.
the way I look? You love me? Like,
Yeah.
what fucking funny. You've
Yeah.
had people that's happened to you?
Oh yeah, for sure. People are like,
That'd
I
be
love
great.
your Absaroka tent. And I have said, oh yeah? Like, like, tell me about your experience with it. I haven't said like, it's not like a gotcha question. I just genuinely like, tell me about it. They're like, well, I haven't used it yet, but I had a buddy who told me that he loves it. That was the response. And I said, I'm like, okay, this isn't probably the right relationship for either of us. Because the first thing you said was, I love that tent, and you have never even used the thing. So like, it's okay if you say like, like, I'm very interested in using your product because I believe in your brand, whatever, right? Like, I'm like, okay, I can understand that. But like, and say anyways, yeah, I have had people say that to me more than once.
You?
Enhance your shooting experience with Stocky Stocks. Are you tired of struggling with mediocre rifle stocks that hinder your performance? Imagine having a high-quality rifle stock that not only enhances your accuracy, but also provides superior strength in a lightweight build. Stocky Stocks offers a wide range of premium rifle stocks manufactured with hand layup carbon fiber construction, a patented carbon fiber AccuBlock, and multiple finish options. Whether you're a long-range shooter or a hunting enthusiast, our stocks are perfect for you. Experience unmatched precision and durability with Stocky Stocks. We provide stock installation instructions, technical support, and guidance to help you choose the right stock for your rifle. Upgrade your shooting game today with Stocky Stocks.
I get we don't get that too. It does happen. We do get people that reach out to say, hey, I have this YouTube channel. I wanted to review your product. Would you send me one? Stuff like that. Not really the pay to play type of stuff. And I think it's the difference in products. And I think that even influencing matters on what type of products you have and maybe the life cycle of those products. Like how long does a hunting rifle last? How long does a tent last? Things like that. When you have customers that are maybe repeat customers, or maybe you really have a customer buys one thing from you because of what you sell, then they don't come back, that kind of thing. What I get a lot of is requests for free shit for various groups, competitions, and anything in the gun space period, including law enforcement, retirement parties, any fucking thing you can imagine. We get 5 to 10 emails a day asking for, will you donate or will you put free shit out for this?
Yes.
And I think just because we're involved in the gun industry, everybody, the gun industry is very large, but we're just a very small part, very niche part of that industry. And just because of guns and ammo, we get involved in a lot of those type of emails.
Yeah. And I'm on being on the influencer side is you buying an Ultra 5. I also pimped, if you go back early on, there was Brad, you may know the manufacturer. I can't remember. They made a sleeping bag called the Cat's Meow. Remember the bag that was from?
Yes. North Face?
I think it was North Face.
Yeah.
Absolute piece of shit. And you froze to death in it.
Yeah,
But
it's awful.
So now I really fucking wear out something before I recommend it, because same thing comes back, like multiple people on the Ultra 5. There's been other shit too, but the Cat's Meow really stands out because it's a piece of shit.
I bet you sold them hundreds of Ultra
Dude,
5s.
I slept in that, and it was really it was super blue, kind of like Brad's shirt he has on. It was very noticeable, and dude, I got so much hate because I used it quite a bit, but not in really cold conditions. And I said, man, I love this bag. I love the weight because it's somewhat lightweight. Fuck, I probably ended up killing somebody, freezing to death. So after that, I was like, I really got to watch what I fucking say.
Yeah.
Because if I don't know 1000%, I ain't talking about it.
Yeah.
I
kind of made
have
up for the suppressor deal though, because now we have suppressors coming out, so now it's okay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I have made the same mistake though, Ryan. Like, I think my opinion on gear evolves over time, like, because we're normal humans, right? You might think at the time you did love that bag, but maybe your experience wasn't as broad as it is now, right? So you learn more, and then you're like, okay, well now I know that I actually don't like that. I did. That was a genuine feeling you had, but now you're like, and I've had that experience with backpacks. There was a backpack that I used to really like that I do not like anymore. and I strongly recommend people not to ever use it. But it's personal. It's like I did like it for a while. I really did. And then I grew to very much hate it. And now I'm like, why did I ever like that? I don't know the answer to it, but I did. And I just think it has to do with like, oh, then I tried something that was better and I realized that it wasn't as good as I thought it was compared to another thing.
Well, gear and everything else is always kind of advancing too. So you would expect that old gear that may have been awesome for 5 years, gets replaced by something that's better technology, better materials, better anything really. Even like the progression from large caliber to small caliber, as far as killing animals and whatnot. Everything changes over time. Opinions change.
You gain knowledge.
So you're allowed to have opinions change, but the Ultra 5 sucked from the moment you had it. So you don't have any fucking excuse.
It did. I totally agree. It's funny. I have this PM and I got to show it. I'll have to post it up now. It said, the cat's meow. He said, more like the cat's asshole.
Oh, shit.
That's
funny.
Let's get into quality gear, Brad.
Ooh, my favorite topic.
Gear. So anybody that's out there that lives under a rock, can you give us the 10,000 foot view of Argali from inception till right now?
Started out as a adventure filmmaking company, started making gear for myself because there were some things that I feel like didn't exist in the world, solved problems that I was encountering. And then we became a gear company. First film we made was 2015 when we filmed it. And then we didn't come out with the first product came out with was 2017, and that was just game bags. And then it was a knife. And then, we've been slowly going into new categories. And then last 3 years in particular, we've really ramped up pretty significantly.
How do you, this is a very saturated market in what you jump into. And I know the answer to these, so I'm kind of like, want you to kind of bring some of this out. Some of the great conversations that we've had is there's a lot of fucking tents. There's a lot of fucking knives out in the world right now. What makes Argali to say, oh, I'm going to make a knife, or I'm going to make a tent, or better yet, I'm going to make a sleeping bag? How does that planning and start, the strategic, not only on the freaking making side, but the marketing side, how does that come together?
Man, great question. My general philosophy on any product is there's always room for something better, no matter how saturated it is. Think about guns and suppressors, right? You guys understand this. I think that one of our core competencies, perhaps one of our advantages on the competition, is that we are doing the thing that we are making the gear for. So I am a backcountry hunter. I am a backpack hunter. I do it a lot. I do it a shitload. So when I'm making something, I wish I could sit here and be like, we've done market research, we've done our homework, but usually it's just gut instinct. I'm going off of my instinct on, I think this is better, faster, stronger, different enough from what exists in the marketplace. And I'm excited. My level of excitement is also a barometer for me. So if I'm excited about making something because I feel, based on my experience, my understanding of the marketplace, the consumer, that this thing is going to solve a problem, that's the catalyst for us deciding to make it, usually. And then, I really do, the other thing I think that I know that we do, and I don't know if everybody else does this, but every single piece of every product I work on, design, is meticulously thought through. And now, I'm not saying we have all the right answers. I'm not saying everybody even has to agree with us, but I do know that there is no such thing to us as like a casual decision on a product, whether that's the type of thread, whether that's the way the seam is folded over or not folded over, whether it's, the reason we do a particular coating, how much coating. It isn't an accidental decision. There is reason behind all of it. Now, people can disagree with our design choices all day long, but there is a reason for it. Not every company is like that. For some companies, if you are a designer at a company, you've got people saying, hey, I want 3 new tents this year. Let's just take tents, for example. Your job is to come up with 3 unique designs, just coming up with some new shit to sell for, 2027. And that's a very different design point to start from, instead of saying, are we making something that is actually solving a problem, or are we just trying to make new shit because we need something new, a new color, a new size, a new widget to sell. So if I don't feel like it is adding value to the marketplace, adding value to consumers, if it isn't something that I am excited about using myself, we're not gonna work on it. And so that is it might sound subtle and inconsequential to people that are listening to this, but it will show up in terms of the way the product functions and the way you when you use the product. I think you can tell the difference between a product that was designed to solve a problem as opposed to a problem that was just designed to make something different, so a company could make sure they hit their bottom line at the end of the year.
Definitely. Or it's 0.2 grams lighter than the previous year's version.
Totally.
Yeah.
We changed this. It's yellow instead of green this year.
When Brad came out with a Sil Poly tent, right? And he's telling me, I start reading about it, and I'm thinking, God dang, he's high. He's coming out with, because if you go back in the last 10 years, everybody shit on Sil Poly. Am I correct about that, Brad?
Absolutely.
Everybody shit on Sil Poly, and I got a 10 to his, and it was actually one of the testers. He said, I don't know if you know, I slept in it. And then I got the tarp from you, the Talus tarp myself. And I'm thinking, Brad's full of shit, because Sil Poly, Dyneema, you know, Cuban fiber before that turned to Dyneema. That was, everybody was pumping Dyneema, and Sil Poly's been around, or Sil Nylon, sorry, has been around forever. Everybody's shitting on all the problems that Sil Poly has, and here comes Argali pimping Sil Poly, and I'm thinking, is this like a marketing ploy? Is he bullshitting? Dude, 2 months, it was probably 10 nights, and I'm like, holy shit, Brad might be smart. That's like, shit, Brad might be onto something, because you were the first person that would actually come out and say, no, this is a better product.
Yeah.
And everybody seemed to be fighting you on that.
Oh, dude, I think it's less now than when we started, but the amount of marketing effort. I mean, yeah, we're like the last salmon swimming up the raging river, being like, no. I feel like, actually, let me think about this. Today, I don't know if we're still swimming upstream, but for the last several years, it felt like we had to make a concerted effort to explain ourselves and be like, no, we're not going to just use nylon because that's what the industry uses. No, we're going to, there are reasons we're using this. We're going to tell you about it. And then the problem, the difficulty from a marketing standpoint is you're going to have your early adopters who will be like, you know what? I'm going to take a chance on this, and let me make up my own mind for it. And then they might tell their friends, and they're going to tell their friends, but it takes a long time. It takes a while, right? That's a slow burn process to swim upstream, but I would rather do that. It's this is what we actually believe. I know Sil Poly has a lot of benefits over nylon. I know that. So for me to use nylon would be disingenuous. And anybody who's going to go out there and demonize polyester as a fabric, I feel like that's also dishonest. You're just digging your heels in, and it's a dishonest conversation with the consumer. But anyways, it was a difficult thing to do, but also the right one to do. And you're starting to see people now being like, well, I know we said Sil Poly sucks, but I found a supplier of Sil Poly that's better than everybody else. It's like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. You just finally realized that the consumer is smarter and has more access to information than they used to, and you can't hide the truth anymore. So, anyways, but yes, it's not always swimming upstream. Not always swimming upstream.
At what point did you know you were going to do that? Like, was that from the gate, or was it with some testing?
Yeah, no, it was from the gate. I knew that I had done a bunch of research before and knew that the technology around polyester fabrics construction had evolved quite a bit based on data. And so then I started testing them myself, and I was just like, no, this is the way.
Yeah.
And so that was a key design component, was just, the fabric of a tent is the product in many ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or is a key part of it. And so I knew, from the outset that that's what we were going to do.
I guess on that side of it is, we were going to make a bigger tent, and now it's kind of put on hold, like I told you, because of the Yukon came out. So you have how many tents now? Four or five?
1, 2, 4, 6, 8, and a tarp.
Yeah, so 5 tents and a tarp.
Yeah.
Were each of them we developed a suppressor and we had a pretty damn good idea of this suppressor, and we probably have 5 or 6 more that we want to make.
Nice.
When you came out with what was the first one? I can't
We came out with the 2 and the 4, the Rincon and the Absaroka first.
And you already knew you were going to have 5 and a tarp?
No.
No.
I mean, I wanted to, but as a business owner, you're like, how am I going to pay for this? These things need to do well before I can just, I need money to invest in these other products, which cost a lot of money. So yes, I knew, like, I had a line planned out, but how long it would take me to get to the other products, I didn't know.
And what is the test for one tent? Say like the Yukon tent that I love, the 8-person tent you have, or just say whatever your most selling popular tent is. How much testing went into that tent before it came to market?
Oh, a fair bit. So like first thing for me is getting like the design right. Now we had the advantage of I had already used that fabric on other tents, so I didn't have to do some of the more involved like R&D on like sunlight exposure and just tear strength and all that. We'd already done that on the fabric, so we didn't have to do that. But I think we went through like 4 different changes to the size to try and figure out like space to weight ratio. And then after that, I'll usually, we'll make a certain number and I will give them to people who I know are going to go put it through the paces, and then they will do their own testing with it. I collect that feedback. We're at the same time, we're doing our own R&D, which is literally just going out and using it as much as possible. We'll also do like rain tests. Try and do, it's hard to do. We don't have like a wind tunnel. So wind testing is the hardest thing to do. And the best thing you can do is set it up in windy conditions and leave it out and observe and watch what happens. So we're doing all of that with our shelters when we're using them. And then also collecting, I think it's really important with tents in particular to pay attention to how intuitive it is to pitch. So I will give tents to people without any instruction and ask them to figure out how to pitch it. It's usually friends of mine because they're the only ones willing to be guinea pigs. And I just watch and observe if they can figure it out, because a customer can have, especially with a tent, a really bad experience if they don't pay attention to the tent pitching videos or instructions that we give them, and then they go out and try and pitch it and they can't figure it out. So there is an intuitive nature to our tents that I'm always trying to hit, like, is this easy enough to pitch that somebody who's not paying attention can figure it out with relatively little effort? So anyways, it just depends on the product, but the 8-person, I mean, we probably messed around with that design for 2 years before we brought it to market.
You talking about people pitching tents, I have seen some very funny tent pitching. And even in like as easy as a fucking teepee, people fucking up putting up teepees. It's pretty hilarious.
Well, that's the reason we don't make like a round style teepee is because they're hard to pitch, man. It's hard to pitch a circle. I mean, I have a trouble pitching a circle, and that's why we don't make one. We'll never make one. I think they're a poor use of space in terms of, how many people you can fit in them, the amount of usable space, et cetera. But like, have you ever pitched one perfectly every time?
Damn sure not at the start. I'm pretty damn good now, but dude, I made some complete train wrecks. What I like to do is hand it off to a fresh person and say, hey, you go put this up and then see what they come up with. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
When you got a 12-man that's basically, when they're done, it's built for a 2-man, it's pretty fun to watch.
It's like a leaning tower of Pisa by the time you get done too.
It does. Your Yukon though, and to put this out there, me and Brad are going to have a pitch off, if you will. We're going to have a race to who can put their Yukon up faster.
Oh shit.
And I'm going to spank Brad in this pitch on him.
I don't see where is this confidence coming from? The dude that's been designing and making the tent since day one, and then you're going to do it better than him?
Yeah.
Is it like a big height difference or something? Is like your 4-foot stature going to make you faster?
I have a system, a patented system.
A fucking system. Well, it's one more thing we can video where Ryan gets his ass kicked. That's phenomenal.
Wait a minute. What have we videoed that I got my ass kicked?
This will be the first time.
Okay.
but it will happen.
And I actually hope you beat me in this competition, because that would be like, you have surpassed me in the thing that I created, which I take as a wonderful sign that somebody else can be better at the thing that I designed to be easy for me.
Dude,
that's a good open mind to have.
Dude,
yeah.
But I will give Brad total credit. A retard could pitch this tent. Because it's a fucking rectangle.
Yeah.
I didn't say
which one is it?
I didn't say
retard.
Retard. I said ruh.
The Yukon.
Okay,
Yukon
which one is it? The Yukon?
It's the Yukon 8-person
okay, the
tent.
8-person.
Brad, dude, I love big tents, and we were almost gonna make one, like I told you. I was actually trying.
You still can't. I told you can make a tent.
But you said you'd make it for us. Remember?
I did. Yeah, I said I'd make it for you.
No, your tent design is legit. But how? What was the? How did you make it? Like, where did you come up with the concept for that tent? Because it's so simple, but to me, almost perfect for that big of a tent.
My ego is soaring right now, so thank you.
No, it is. And especially I did.
Just remember the Ultra 5, okay, Brad?
Yeah, the Ultra 5.
Remember the Ultra 5.
So I got a lot of nights. I've tried to hurt Brad's feelings because I want to make that other tent, but there's almost no reason. Everything the Yukon is probably better than that tent.
I was on a trip where I was in an 8-person teepee, round teepee style tent, and there were 3 of us in it. We had some really, really nasty, that wet snow weather where it's like barely snowing. So it's just that heavy, nasty. So the teepee just starts sagging in around the sides, right? And so now there are 3 of us in there, and it feels so cramped in an 8-person tent. And I remember being so annoyed. I was like, this is bullshit. This is an 8-person tent, and it feels like a 2-person tent right now. We had to pitch properly. We had a guide out, extra guy outs, everything. And it still just, I'm like, there has got to be
was
a
it
better
also
design.
Sagging because of the Sil nylon?
Yes, it was nylon. It was nylon, and it was just wet, heavy snow. So as soon as I was just stewing on this, and I was like really annoyed. And then as soon as I had this idea, and I went outside, the weather cleared. I shot an elk, and so I had some extra time in my hands because everybody else was still hunting. And I was just packing meat one day, and I got back to camp, and I sat down in the dirt. This is a true story. And I drew out the design in the dirt. I took some sticks, kind of measured out, figured out like how exactly I wanted it to look. Took some sticks, like designed it in the dirt with sticks. Took a picture of it, and then when I got home, I drew it out. And then that was the start of it. But the idea of, I'm like, you need more usable space. So the 2-pole design.
I was going to say the 2-pole design is definitely what sets it apart.
Yes.
Because we've been in the 8-person, teepee from those people. And when you get to the edges are so fucking steep.
Yeah.
That side space is almost like unusable. And if you wanted to sleep over there, the fucking tent's laying on you. So the 2-pole design is already that's awesome.
It feels so huge. And it's, same. I feel like the amount of usable space in a 2-pole design is so much better. It's just, it's not even same ballpark. So so that was kind of the design idea for it. But, it's like getting it from that to, it's a long process going from drawing in the dirt to getting it out in the marketplace.
Looks like you guys just got into Dyneema this year, huh?
We did. Yeah. Yep. We actually, or I think next week are finally going to have our Dyneema tents in stock.
Okay.
You going to make the Yukon in one?
Dude, I might make one for you. That's going to be like a $4,000 tent.
I was going to say that's going to be fucking pricey. That's a lot of material.
Love you a long time. You going to make me one? Is there any possible way? The only beef I have in this whole tent. Go on. And I totally understand why you did it. And I said it in that thread on Rockslide, is can you fucking somehow can we center up where the stove jack is?
Oh.
You like it in the middle
why
of the
can't
tent?
It be on one pole or the other? You're already sacrificing room because the pole is there.
Because it's like in the middle, like it's easier for like pretty much has to be on that person's side. And it was my side one time. It was Luke the next time we're out there. But it's like if it was in the middle, it'd be more kind of like centrally located to throw wood in it. And it'd just be easier to heat and build around it, if that makes sense.
We could certainly, we can put a stove jack in for you to try it out. The reason we put it next to a pole is largely for, it provides some structural rigidity for the stovepipe. So if you get in windy weather, that having that pole there's a lot less flex in that fabric right there next to the pole.
Okay.
So if you put it in the middle of the tent, it's
What about just put it in the inside, the middle side of that pole?
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
No problem.
I think that'd fix the problem.
You would like that because that way it's not on the end. You want it more in the middle of the tent because that way it's going to have more. You can can sit around it easier. And
this ought to be a one-off because it may burn down with the fucking the flap coming in. Somebody goes to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So maybe that's why there's the one that's offset and not more in the middle. I don't know.
We played around with, I'd have to go back and look at my notes, but we moved the stove jack around different places. It's one of the challenges with paneling on a tent, especially of that size, is when you put a stove jack in, you're cutting out a hole in a tent panel, and then you have to sew back in the stove jack, and so you're messing up that panel and the tension on that panel pretty significantly. And that the 8P in particular, there's a lot of fabric tension when you guide that thing out between the pole and the bottom of the tent, and it looks it's hard to make it look sharp and not have like fabric wrinkles. I know that might sound like silly and superfluous, but people do care if a tent pitches and it looks clean. It very much matters to our eyes and our brains. Like, have you ever seen like a tent that's just pitched poorly and you're just like, ugh?
Yeah, every time I go out and laugh at people that pitch their tent. Like it works fine. Problem. Or they pitch it in a fucking ditch and they think they're going to be okay. They're like fucking idiots. Good time. And you don't tell them, you let them figure it out in the middle of the night when it starts raining.
That's right.
On the 8P again, it's just really the tent I have the most experience with, and it's a fucking badass tent. You can pitch that thing. I can't tell you my time because I don't want to divulge secrets for the competition.
Oh, shit.
But you can pitch it at least twice as fast as a 12-man. At least twice as fast.
Oh, it's a
by yourself.
Oh, yeah. It's very easy to pitch by yourself. I think it's hard to screw up. It really is.
And the thing that makes me like it even more is, as everybody knows, and Jake's tired of talking about his mules, is and anybody that uses it, if they have llamas, goats, whatever, is you put that fucking 12-man up, even an 8-man teepee, it's a pain in the ass to take down and put up. And if you want to move and then you spot an elk that's 2 fucking miles away and need to move, it could be a factor saying, oh, there's probably elk around here, or I'm going to go fucking kill those elk. Because you could tear it up and set it back up real quick.
Yeah.
And to me, that goes into people's mind, man. People get lazy and complacent real quick.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. So it's simple to put up, simple to put down. And I want to go as light as possible. So we need to really talk about this Dyneema one, offline.
I could probably be talked into it, but we've got some new fabrics that we're messing around with right now that are competitors to Dyneema, because Dyneema's patent ran out. And so there are some new companies coming online that are making very comparable fabrics that are a little bit more cost effective. We haven't done enough testing yet to know if they are as good as Dyneema, but Dyneema is just so incredible.
I'll be a dummy. I'll be a test dummy.
Okay, well, I think I have this, it's supposed to be here this week. I have a 10. It's not an 8P, but it's our Hawaii 1P in this new fabric. I don't want to say which fabric it is just yet.
All right.
Don't want to spoil the surprise.
Me and Jake, 1Ps really don't suit us.
Yeah, it's what's the right word here?
I think that's mostly for anybody though. A one person really is a minimalistic approach for that one person, right? So usually one man means a 2 person, and 2 people means a 4. But if it's me and Mason, that means probably an 8. I don't even think a 4 is going to do. He's like a 2.5 man.
Are we talking midgets or people?
Yeah, is this Walmart sizes, or
are we talking Walmart sizes? Or are we talking what's the fucking food place that's popular in California? The
Trader Joe's?
Trader Joe's?
Not Trader Joe's, it's the granola fucking, damn it.
Oh, damn it.
That'd been a good joke if I remember the name.
Whole Foods.
It's Whole Foods. Is it fucking Walmart or Whole Foods, people?
Never know.
Brad's like, I'm never coming on this thing again.
There you go.
Anyways, the 1P.
Yeah, I'll let me see what I can do to I seriously think I don't even know. I'll have to look at the fabric consumption on 8P, and then I can do some math, and I can tell you what that would cost. Just our cost would be, but it'll be thousands of dollars. I mean, to the retail, the price point, I mean, it's probably going to be between in the $4,000 to $5,000 range for the 8P.
The question to that is, what's the, like, obviously to make a lot and sell it makes no sense, but what is the weight savings off the top of your head?
The weight savings on an 8P would be substantial because,
Really?
the bigger the tent, the bigger the weight savings. I mean, you're talking about fabric that's half the weight. So I don't know. I mean, you'd go from let's call it a 7.5 pound setup to maybe like a 4 pound setup, 3.5 pound setup.
Half almost.
What's that?
Half the weight almost.
It's let's call it like 60% of the weight. So like 40% weight savings is what I would guess. I would say 40% weight savings because we use a 30D Sil Poly in our 8P as opposed to our 20D that we use in some of our smaller tents, which is a little bit heavier. Use a little bit heavier coating. So I think it would be a really substantial savings. The downside though is that Dyneema is so bulky that your bulk is going to go up probably by about a third
It
to a half. So it's going to be it's going to be a big tent. It'll be a lot lighter, but it's going to be huge.
Yeah. Doesn't compress at all.
No. Dyneema, that's a big downside to it. It's really annoying actually. But if you have stock, then you won't care.
Yeah. The interesting thing is I was asking you how to repair Dyneema the other day. I have one of the only Dyneema sawtooths. I have the only Dyneema sawtooth because it's kind of like a deal. I love the sawtooth size. It is kind of a bitch to pitch, but we had it in 80 plus mile an hour winds, and there's a seam that kind of tore. It wasn't the actual material that tore, and it's impressive for being a tent that basically weighs nothing. It's like 1.5 pounds. It takes some fucking abuse.
Yeah,
but you're right. It does very crappy putting it back into a stuff sack. And like when you sell a Tallest, I swear to God, you have like 10 people shoving that fucking bag in there because I have to wrestle that thing like a fucking badger for 5 minutes to get it into that bag. And God forbid if it's wet.
For you.
What's that?
So I don't know why it's such an issue for you.
I don't know. I'm handicapped.
Got baby arms.
Speaking of that, are you going to make the Tallest? Are you going to make some shit out of the Tallest tarp with that?
With
the
what?
Dyneema side?
Say that again?
The Tallest tarp. Are you going to make it into Dyneema?
With the new material.
That's the plan. Yeah.
Yeah. Put me on the list.
Okay, hold on. Let me get a pen. I know you love Dyneema. There are people out there though that hate Dyneema.
Why?
It doesn't stretch, so it's harder to pitch. So it's a little bit more. It can be more fussing around. There are some great advantages to it, but the fact that it has like almost zero stretch to it is fairly annoying. It doesn't condensate nearly as much as any silicone coated fabric does. It's strong.
Very strong.
It's lightweight, but it's bulkier and it doesn't have any stretch, which makes the pitching more difficult. I think those are really the two key, and it's super expensive.
Yes.
So if money isn't an issue, it's a great fabric. But it's not everybody's. I mean, like our Absaroka, it's over $1,000 in Dyneema as opposed to like a little over $400 for a regular version. So it's quite a bit more expensive. But
I don't understand them saying they have an issue with it being harder to pitch because man, when it's up, it's fucking up. There's no flapping. There's no moving. It is stout.
Yeah, but you also have pitched, 1,000 tents.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
If you're newer to backpacking or just tent camping, I agree with some practice. It's not hard for me to pitch a Dyneema tent, but not everybody has the same amount of experience, and so it can be a little bit more challenging for them.
Gotcha.
What are your top 3 selling products right now?
Ooh, I just looked at this. It's tents. So our 2P, 4P, and our 20-degree sleeping bag are like top 3 tent products right now.
What's the top non-tent item?
You just said sleeping bag.
Sleeping bag.
I didn't hear him say that.
And our stove. Well, that's a camping product. So let me give you we kind of sell quite a bit of everything. It's like if you look at like volume of product, we sell game bags is the highest volume product we sell. We sell a lot of game bags. If you look at, just what do we sell like the most of now? Like the camping category has certainly become our most popular category. But we everything that we make, we sell quite a bit of. Like our knives are, we're not a knife, quote unquote, knife company, but we sell a lot of knives.
Which one is the most popular?
It's funny you asked that. It has varied slightly from year to year. So the Carbon was our most popular. I think last year the Cerac beat out the Carbon. And now, depending on, I need to get to the end of the year to see, but we introduced the Sawtooth last year and it was almost dead heat even between the three blades. So it kind
What
of
do you
like,
think it is all time?
what's that?
Where is it all time?
I don't actually know. I'd have to pull that data.
The Cerac is the only one to buy. Rest, don't worry about it.
I think more people like the Cerac design.
Yeah.
Because most people like a little bit bigger belly on their blade.
What's the price point of putting you on the spot on the Cerac?
It's $239 for the Stealth.
$239.
$209.
$209.
And then we have a MagnaCut version. That's a little bit more expensive too. So we have S35 version, a MagnaCut version, and then we have the Stealth version. So anywhere from like $209 to that $250 range.
Yeah, I have that MagnaCut version you gave me. That's a sweet little knife.
Oh yeah, you probably haven't had a chance to use that yet, have you?
No, I have not. But it's just I've used the what's the other S30V? What was the other one?
S35V, yeah, just the regular.
S35V. Yeah, I've used the hell out of that. And you also have and I don't think you tout this enough, Brad, because I still use it. You have a fucking belt sharpener.
Yeah, we need to talk more about that because it is a sweet product. Yeah, our Kodiak Belt.
And I always forget about it, and half the time I won't take it. So now I put it right in the last thing that I look at in a little bin of shit that I take hunting, because I've gone away from replaceable blades because I keep finding them everywhere. People are just discarding them. My dog almost got his shit cut open because some asshole just pushed him into the dirt.
Yep.
So anyways, I remembered that I need to remember to take that. Anyways, kind of go through that product real quick.
Question of the week, powered by ADG.
Do I need to clean out my primer pocket to get consistent? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you can get enough buildup in the bottom that you end up having, seating issues, seating the primer. And that can affect the sensitivity of the primer, but I don't know that would necessarily affect the ballistics that the primer would produce.
That could also be one of those things, as we talked about earlier today. One of you mentioned that shooting and hand loading is a headspace game. So if someone thinks that is providing a benefit, intellectually, it provides a benefit.
Yeah, the Kodiak Belt, it's a knife, it's a belt buckle, a belt with a buckle that I wanted to be like low profile, fit in a pack. And then the design idea was to build materials into it that you could sharpen a knife with. Took a really long time to figure out how to do that. And but there are 3 different ways you can sharpen a knife with it. There's a tungsten carbide bar on the top of the buckle, which is it's milled to a 90-degree edge. So you can use that essentially to scrape off the burrs off of your blade. And then there is a leather strap sewn into the belt. Then we have some diamond grit on the back that you can use to reshape your blade. So like if the idea is that like it's really good for touching up a knife in the field. You can reshape a blade with it. I have done it in the field. It takes a little bit more time to completely reshape a blade, but you can do it. But the idea is that if you have a high quality knife and our belt, you really shouldn't need anything else to get your knife sharp if you lose your edge in the field, or you can at least touch it up to get something back in the field enough to make it so your knife is sharp enough to be functional in the field.
When I first got it, I was like, there's no way this friction lock buckle will keep this belt up on my fat ass, but it does a good job.
I've heard some friends of mine, when we launched it, said like, this just seems like a kitschy kind of product. Like it seems gimmicky.
Yeah.
Because you're like, a belt buckle that sharpens a knife. Like, come on. Like it's going to be a crummy belt buckle or it's going to be a shitty knife sharpener. And I appreciate, this is why I have good friends, because they're honest with me. And one of them in particular, he's like, I just thought it was going to be stupid. He's like, but I actually really like it. I enjoy it as a belt buckle. Like I just enjoy wearing it. And then it actually works as a knife sharpener. And so
It
he
does.
told me that after using it for like a year, he's like, I thought this was going to be dumb. I'll be honest with you, but I actually ended up liking it, and it works just like you said it would.
Similar ShamWow thoughts.
Yeah.
Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar.
It's a good price point too, $75.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not super expensive.
Can you like tell us because a lot of consumers, me included, you said S35V?
VN.
And then the Magna Cut differences.
Man, it's funny you asked that. So they're both made by Crucible, U.S. steel company. Both super steels in terms of they hold an edge for a long time, but they're not incredibly hard to sharpen. Like the steel isn't so hard that it's hard to sharpen. If you look on paper, you look at the data, MagnaCut it outperforms S35 VN in terms of edge retention and sharpenability. So it holds an edge longer and it's easier to sharpen, which doesn't make sense because usually if a steel is easy to sharpen, it's going to be softer and it's going to hold an edge, not holding an edge as well, right? So the trade-off is you can buy a cheap knife, you can sharpen it really quickly and easily because it's a softer steel, but it's not going to hold an edge very long. So here you have MagnaCut, which seeming like defies logic in that it holds an edge longer and it's easier to sharpen on paper. When I've used S35 and MagnaCut just in a real world scenario, I can't honestly notice any difference, is my honest answer. Some people swear they can, and there are people who love MagnaCut. They swear all day it's better than S35, and I'm not I'm not I wouldn't call myself a knife nut. I look at knives as a functional tool, and I use them for all the things that you would use a knife for. But in a real world, what I tell people, I'm like, in a real world application, when you're like cleaning an animal, butchering an animal, there may be differences that you can notice, but it's really hard to study it in the field because the way we all use knives is different. How many times you touch the bone matters. How you cut the hide matters. So you can't really do a true comparison test on an animal and be like, okay, we know for sure this one is better over this one. They're both really good. If I tell people like, if you like the MagnaCut steel, if you believe in the data and testing, and there's no reason not to, go with the MagnaCut version. But S35 is a great steel too, slightly lower price point. We offer both, and we kind of just let people decide which one they want. But I can't honestly tell a difference, if I'm being totally honest with you.
Jake has a knife nerd that works for him, and I asked him the same question, and he basically gave the same answer. He said, if I was just buying one knife, though, he said I would take the MagnaCut just on the resharpening side. He said that's probably the biggest thing. But he said for most people that are novice to it, they're not going to notice a difference.
No, because the way I have learned too, the way people use a knife is not how I would use a knife. Most people are not I'm pretty careful about touching hard things on my knife edge when I'm butchering, and not everybody, is there, get in a hurry, whatever. It's just the way you do it. You're touching bone a bunch, you're sawing on bone or whatever. That affects how long your edge is going to be maintained, right? All the way you use it is the X factor that you can't control for.
I want to touch on your sleeping bags real quick because I remember I was coming back from deer hunting, and Brad said, "Call me. I got a couple of questions for you." And the words came out of your mouth, "I'm going to make a sleeping bag," and I was like, "Man, this guy's fucking crazy." He's going to make us sleeping bags. Take us through, like, why did you think? And in retrospect, your sleeping bag's badass. Why did you think the world needed our Argali sleeping bag?
That's a good question. There are, I think, two brands that make sleeping bags that are really good, but the problem with there's two issues that I have with those bags. Number one was the hood design, the sizing, and the fabric. So I thought they were pretty good product. And I try very hard not to say bad things about individual brands, because I actually do like a lot of brands out there. But I thought they were pretty good. But again, like coming back to my like design philosophy, I wasn't just personally like thrilled with the functionality of the product, and it was just like the way the fabric felt when I laid in it. Some of it was the hood design, and then the third part of it was just the fact that, to me, when you really think about our goal was to try and create the warmest, most comfortable sleep system that existed. And when you think about that, you have to think of a sleeping bag as a part of a system that you sleep in, not just a thing that keeps you warm. So that means a pillow. A comfortable pillow is a key part of the sleep experience. Um, I think for most people, maybe not everybody, but for most people.
Well, for me, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think most sleeping bag companies are just thinking about sleeping bags as a thing that keeps you from dying, or a thing that keeps you warm, instead of thinking about it as a system that keeps you warm and comfortable. And so when it comes to like the fabric, the down, and the integration of our Elite Dream pillow that attaches inside the hood,
Attaching is badass.
yeah, it really does make a difference, I think, in terms of the functionality, and the way the quality of sleep you're able to get. Because I'm not going to say nobody thinks about the pillow situation, but it seems like it's an afterthought for most companies if they're thinking about it at all. And then most pillows out there are inflatable pillows. Inflatable pillows suck, and I will never. No one's going to convince me that that's not the case, but they're just uncomfortable. It feels like you're sleeping on a balloon, or a balloon on top of a rock, I'd say, is like the experience I've had for years and years and years. So anyway, so that's I'd say like the idea is that I think we can make, or I knew that we could make a bag that literally was on par with the best sleeping bags made in the world. And we have done that. And I also wanted to make them, this idea of creating an honest temperature rating system is very frustrating to me. Or one of my frustrations is that if you buy a 20-degree bag, or a 15-degree bag, or a 10-degree bag, it felt like there was no consistency in terms of the way brands are talking about those temperature ratings. It's just, they're just putting a number out there and saying this is a 10-degree bag. But as a user, you're like, what does that actually mean in terms of my comfort level? Does that mean I'm going to be comfortable down to 10 degrees? Or does that mean I'm going to just be like shivering through the night at 10 degrees? And so I wanted to create part of our goal was to create, again, a more honest sleep system with the consumer, and say, no, when our temperature ratings, this is what we mean by this. We're not going to let you guess what we mean by this. We're going to tell you that we use what we call honest temperature ratings, or comfort ratings, across our entire sleeping bag line. So anyway, so those were the things that really like were front of mind for us in creating a sleep system.
I have fucking bungee cords tied to my pillow that I wrap around the actual fucking cot or the sleeping pad to try to keep it. And technically that's not in the sleeping bag. It's, under the sleeping bag instead of, yours clips inside the hood area.
Yep.
That's fucking awesome.
Tanya got one from at the expo, the hunting expo. She travels a lot. She goes nowhere. I sent Brad a picture on the airplane.
Without the pillow?
Without that fucking pillow. Because she said they're right enough without any bulk. She said, then if I need more bulk, I just jam my sweater in there or jam my puffy in there.
Uh-huh.
She said it is money. So
I think if you, honestly, as an airline, I use it as an airline pillow too. If you do take a little piece of shot cord and run it around the whatever, the top of your chair.
Oh, nice.
That's a nice little way to get some rest on an airplane as well.
Yes.
I have not, I don't have your bag, haven't slept in it, but I did say, if there was a bag that I would try to make better for us, girthy fellas, was the Badger. And it seems like you have made a better Western Mountaineering Badger.
I think we have. And I realize that's a bold statement, and I don't like declaratory statements about this is the best or better, but I do think I genuinely believe it's a better version of that bag.
You don't have there's not width options, do you think? So I have really wide shoulders. Is it pretty adaptable? Like the Badger, for example, is pretty wide in the shoulder area.
It's a very wide cut bag. So it's not a mummy bag at all.
Jake's like Frankenstein. You met him.
You are a big guy, Jake. I think.
Yeah.
But it's as big as anything. I don't know what you're using now, but it is as big as
a
anything.
Badger.
It's as big as,
I got the Badger
He got
long.
influenced him.
No, I believe, and if I remember properly, I think it's a long wide. I don't remember if there were options for.
A long wide.
Yeah, I have a long wide Badger.
Okay, I don't know what their wide sizing off the top of my head, but ours is size pretty dang wide. It's size 4 wide shoulder individuals. I've had one person who was like 6'7", who had incredibly wide shoulders, who was like pretty tight in it, and it looked a little uncomfortable. But that's the only person I've seen who couldn't fit in it in one of our bags.
Huh. The way I sleep at night will be basically, I'm a side sleeper, so I'll be on one side, and then depending on whether or not I got like gastric shit coming up out of my throat, because if you lay on your right side, the way your stomach is lined up, you're more prone to have. I got acid reflux a lot.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, so if you lay on your right side, the way your stomach lines up, you're more prone to have acid reflux on your right side than your left side.
Okay.
So, and then on top of that, my hips are like weird. I have wide hips, so when you're on the cot / sleeping pad, like my hip is out of alignment. So I can make it about 30 minutes to an hour. Something hurts, and then I roll to the other side, or I get fucking acid reflux up in my mouth. So one or the other. So I basically, every half hour to 1 hour, I turn from one side to the other. And by the end of the night, that's why I strapped that fucking pillow down, because the pillow would be on the other side of the tent. And then my pad is half off the end of it. So now I strap the pad to the ultralight cot and then strap the pillow to the fucking cot. And that's the best way to kind of keep everything in place.
You like buckle yourself in. You need a fucking
But now, dude, so the wife's on those fucking Ambiens now. I think I'm gonna steal a few Ambiens.
Just pass out.
Oh, dude. Looking forward to trying that shit out. Yes.
You're gonna get raped by
it was some Benadryl, right? Yeah. Like I would pop a couple Benadryl. That would kind of help maybe the first bout. Maybe you make it 2 or 3 hours, but
you're gonna have to like ratchet strap yourself to that fucking thing.
Yeah.
Brad,
anyways,
the thing you get the most shit about is you went with traditional down. Can you kind of explain yourself, sir?
Oh yeah, untreated down. Yeah,
untreated. Sorry.
Yeah, we did. We did a video. I did a down submersion test video that's on Rockside. People can go check out. Yeah, I mean, there are most down DWR treatments are paraffin based, wax based. There's only one type of down treatment that I just haven't used enough yet to know whether or not I agree with the claims made by it, that isn't paraffin based. But paraffin is wax, and so DWR treated down that is wax based is going to cause clumping over time, which means you're going to lose the ability of that down to trap warm air, which means it's not going to be as warm throughout the life of that bag. So, but the big downside of untreated down, at least in most people's mind, is that it is more prone to being saturated with water and then unable to perform. So we did a down submersion test. I did, and surprising we found is like down is naturally very, very, very water resistant. And the differences between DWR treated down and untreated down are negligible at best. We actually found that DWR treated down actually held on to water longer than untreated down. So anyway, we use untreated down because it doesn't have the same tendency to clump over time. So you're going to get a longer life out of that down. I would say I think there's my feeling is that people, they make, especially when a sleeping bag application, we focus too much on the fact that DWR there's too much emphasis on needing DWR treated down. I don't think you need it in a sleeping bag, except for extreme cases or in incredibly wet environments, which are like if you're in a rainforest type environment. The vast majority of places, I do not think it's necessary. But over the years, again, you talk about like marketing in the sleeping bag space, there have been such a concerted effort to say like, we use DWR treated down. You have to have DWR treated down. And nobody has really just stepped back and said, like, why? Or let's do some testing. And yet, I would say 2 of the biggest companies in the mountaineering space don't use treated down. Feathered Friends in Western Mountaineering. But then pretty much everybody else uses treated down in the sleeping bag world, which is remarkable to me.
Do you think your opinion might be different? So a sleeping bag tends to be in a dry environment. You're doing your absolute best possible to be in a dry environment. Do you think your opinion would change if you were to design a down puffy, for example,
Correct.
that you
Yes,
would
I
wear
do.
out in the rain.
Different application. Absolutely.
Yes.
Different
Okay.
application. So I would do different, I would test it differently because I agree with you. Like that's a different application. Like you're not wearing your sleeping bag. Well, depends on the company, I guess.
Well, that's
But
how you're trying to market it.
yeah, I'm not
Next
wearing
to the
my sleeping
fire,
bag
with your
outside
arms
when I'm,
out.
dude. Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
we got,
Go ahead.
we got to get into that a little bit because I love ingenuity, but holes in your sleeping bag makes no fucking sense to me. No matter how you pitch it to me, I ain't buying.
Yep. Yeah, it's just if you I mean, I don't know what else to say about it, but like
Yeah.
holes in a sleeping bag are holes in a sleeping bag. Like air will come in and go out from a hole in a sleeping bag. And I will not make, as long as I am in charge of this company, we will not make a sleeping bag that has any sort of holes in it because it is a place for air to escape. Zippers are a source of heat loss, holes are a source of heat loss. And so if you're willing, if as a consumer, you don't care about that, that's a choice you can all make. But again, we were trying to make the warmest, most comfortable sleeping bag out there. And if that is your goal, you can't then put these features on it that clearly allow for air to escape. And you can't say that air won't escape from holes. It will. Just the nature of the laws of physics do not change based on marketing.
Two things like jump off the page when I see those is the warranty side's going to be an absolute bitch. And the sleeping bag to me is my last line of survival. I don't want to be fucking around with holes. I burn it. I get it wet when I'm out glassing. My sleeping bag is left in a warm spot or in a dry bag when I'm not using it because that is my last line of survival.
It will save your life.
Yeah, it can save your life. So I don't want to have any gimmicks with my sleeping bag.
I agree. Make it simple.
Well, we had you for a long time. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, I was going to, kind of in closing, is there, anything new that might be coming out or anything that you want to pump up here on the podcast? Maybe share some tidbits of information.
Gosh, how much do I want to share today?
I know you have some dirt. I won't spill it, but you should some.
Well, let's just say, yeah, you do know everything. We do have some new tents coming out, and I'm working on those now. I don't want to say what they are. Well, one of them is on Rockside. I have a 3-person tent design we're working on that is I'm pretty excited about. I haven't really divulged the details of it yet, but we will soon. And then, yeah, we have a big new thing we're working on, whole new category that we'll announce probably in early August, and I'm very excited about it. It's consumed my life for the last year and a half, and yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I don't think I should. I think it's probably too early for me to say anything about.
It's a sleeping bag with holes in it.
A sleeping bag with armholes. Prepare yourself accordingly. Get your pocketbooks out, guys.
One last, since you won't spill the beans, I got one more question for you. Because
Yeah.
me and Jake were just talking about this before you came on. How much value do you put on the marketing side for putting out videos? Hunting videos.
I think it's a really YouTube is a
videos.
really important way for us to tell our story as a company, as a relatively small company. It allows us to reach people that I don't know how else to reach in a way that isn't trying to sell a product, but just saying, this is who we are, this is what we believe in. And it's not a sales pitch. It's not like an ad. And so, but I don't know how to measure the effectiveness of it.
It's almost like it's bringing some validity to your products that you're saying. If you want to say that it's, made for hunters by hunters kind of thing, you're giving validity to that.
Yeah. I mean, Jake, like you guys have this podcast. I think in the same way as this podcast, it allows people to connect to your brand, get to know the people behind it. To me, YouTube and content films is another way for you to just tell the world who you are, what your value system is, and in a way that genuinely is like, I'm not trying to like sell you a thing necessarily. I'm just trying to be like, tell you about who we are and make people aware of your brand, your company, your values, your ethos. And so I don't know the answer to it because we can't measure it, but I know it's valuable. It's valuable to us, and we take it very seriously as a way in which to like tell people our story.
How many subscribers do you guys have on YouTube, and what's one of your, what's a normal view count for a video?
Yeah, we don't have a ton of subscribers. We're a little like 21,000 subscribers. I'd say our hunting films anywhere from like 40,000 to half a million views.
Wow.
I'd say like if it's a good piece of content, I'd say that 50 to 100,000 is pretty normal.
Have you learned anything in particular over time that people that increases those view counts due to certain things in the video?
No. I
You
don't
never know what's
understand
going to hit
YouTube very
hard and
well.
what's not.
No, I don't understand it very well, I'll be honest with you. We have people that understand it better than I do, but I'd say it needs to be really good, engaging content. And our goal is always to make something real, authentic, and interesting, and tell stories about things that we are genuinely interested in. And hopefully other people will like the same thing or appreciate it. That's always been our goal.
2 really good videos you put out, and I know the name of one, and the other one I think I do. It's Chasing Ridgelines is a really good video you put out. That's how I actually found you, because it was in a tour of some kind.
Yeah, it was an old hunting film tour. Yeah.
And then is it Wild Places?
The Last Wild Place is the Frank.
Yes, Last Wild Places and Chasing Ridgelines. If you watch anything from them, watch those 2.
Yeah. 2 keystone content pieces.
Okay, where can people, the people that don't know who you are, the slow people, if you will, where can they stalk you?
Argali Official, ArgaliOutdoors.com. Yeah, those are the best places.
Any parting shots, Jake, Brad?
Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
And when you're ready for some rifle and some small cartridges, let us know.
I will. Yes. In fact, I do need to follow up with you guys on that. My brain right now is focused on this new building that we were talking about.
When you get all settled in.
Yep. The suppressor is going to be sent to you within the next week or 2, just so you know, to that spot you told me.
Good. They'll call me, I'm sure. They usually do.
We're not paying you, though.
Don't pay me a dime.
You can tell us you love it or hate it. We'll value your influence either way, sir.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, guys.
What I tell you, man? That's a good podcast, huh? Hey, next time I tell you something, you better listen up. Make sure to leave them boys 5 stars.